Ladies and gentlemen, order in the court. Today's proceedings finds the people versus James McGill.
Legal troubles got you down. Bosses refusing to pay out. Hit and run leave you stunned. Drug lords in your future. Well, maybe not, because he'll get your case dismissed. He'll get you the defense you deserve. But only if you say the words.
Oh no, I need legal representation. Whatever shall I do? What do I say? Oh wait, I know.
Better call
Call
Saul.
Saul. So without further ado, let's begin judging Saul. Court is now in session.
You will atone.
My God, Dragon, I think we got that perfect this time. What do you think?
Yep.
All right. That was like a. Never mind. I was gonna
Either that or we're all talk. And speaking of all talk, what are we here talking about this evening?
We're here to talk about talk.
Yes.
Okay, here's the dealio, Dragon. Just getting thesis statements out of the way before we dive into this thing.
All right.
I've actually heard some criticism about this episode, saying that it's like, well, it's just, nothing really happens in the episode. It's moving chess pieces around. Dragon, I gotta tell you, I might be opening a can of worms when I say this, but maybe it's just kind of like the Rorschach of it all with this show. But this might be like a Last Jedi situation because I love this episode. I really do. From the cold open to the thematic elements of the talk and how that exists throughout the whole thing in different contexts. Of course, we have the cousins in one of the most epic action sequences in the entire ABQ universe. I feel like the Jimmy and Kim stuff, while not the most exciting, is really relatable on a human level. Dragon, this episode to me was firing on all cylinders. To me, I think it's by far my favorite of season 4 so far, at the very least.
Well, here's the thing that kind of this moving chess pieces thing. I agree with that in a good way, though. I don't think it's a bad thing, though. I like that it's kind of moving these chess pieces, but I think it's doing it in a really strategic where you see where it's going. But again, we do have a lot of character. Basically, if we're moving chess pieces, which again is not a bad thing, because we're doing plot in a good way. I feel we understand the players who are making the moves, and I feel that's what this episode's about, and I really like that. Like specifically with Mike, and we'll get into that.
Of course. Honestly, Dragon, with Mike, don't get me wrong. This isn't like, I would say this might be a solid number 2 Mike episode next to 5-0.
It's a fantastic companion piece to 5-0. Maybe not like a direct companion piece, but it's a great, like, oh boy, if you want just kind of the feeling of 5-0, you want to watch this.
In 5-0, I definitely think the monologue is better in 5-0 because that's just classic TV right there,
That's one of Jonathan Banks' finest performances.
Of course.
Really
But I don't know, Dragon. I love the way that this cold open is set up, and then how we of course we'll kind of break it all down, but I'm kind of chomping up at the bits here, Dragon. So let's quickly get into our background here.
Well, real quick, I want to mention something kind of fun because we cited 5-0. Is that Jonathan Banks famously, he said, again, but with the performance he gave in 5-0, he said he's only going to watch it 2 times in his life, once with the DVD commentary and once before he dies.
Oh, God.
I'm saying that, Vince Gilligan said, no, you should watch it every day of your life. And again, I agree with Vince Gilligan on that one, but I still like the John thanks the fact it's like he gave one of his best performances. He doesn't want to like soil it by kind of rewatching it over and over. I think it's so beautiful. It's kind of sad and beautiful.
Beautiful, man. Jesus Christ.
What?
I just said that really is beautiful.
Yeah, I know. So okay, so we have
a. You know what's funny? I had a vivid dream the other night about a Rick Dicker spin-off film.
Really?
I'm not kidding. Don't ask me to recite memories of it, like specific details, because I can't. I just remember it was vivid, and I remember Jonathan Banks was voice acting his ass off.
Well, one, hello to the viewers joining us in the comments, and 2, of course, for Jonathan Banks. portrayed Rick Dicker in Incredibles 2. For any who foolishly have not seen Incredibles 2 yet, I'm going to tell you it's worth checking out. And for added bonus, hey, Jonathan Banks is Rick Dicker, and he's amazing with the little screen time he had. It's like, oh my god, he's selling the heck out of it.
Bob, it's been an honor working with you fine people.
I checked the kid. He checks out. Nice kid.
Also, Dragon, let me greet Demona B the same way that our cousins would greet Demona B. You ready?
Okay.
All right, enough of that. Enough of
that. On the off chance that Demona B doesn't quite know the cousins that well, the fact of the matter is they're for all intents and purposes, they're mute, but they're very silent. They're very, they Spanish is their first language, and they rarely ever speak, if ever. Honestly, it's like even between each other, they don't really speak a lot. Just they kind of get each other.
I think the longest line that they had this episode, one of them said, "He's our uncle."
Well, I think it was last episode.
No, I think it was the either episode 1 or episode 2 when they were visiting Hector in the hospital.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I mean, yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. Like that was. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're. I think you're right. But no, it had to be episode. I'm sorry. We're getting the semantics here. Because it was like they were checked in on. Then we had the doctor visit. But I don't think you might be right. Let's just
right. Because in the doctor visit, they famously don't say anything. I think one of them says talk or like go ahead or something.
That has to be episode 2 because that episode's where we get the big Kim Fabians, the big Kim Howard Hamlin scene. So that has to be that's episode 2, I'm sure of it. Okay, so we have the director is John Scheiben. John Scheiben, he directed Rebecca and Sunk Costs from Better Call Saul, and he directed a really great episode of Breaking Bad. He directed Sunset.
Nice.
Death of the RV episode.
And Rebecca is one of my personal favorite Better Call Saul episodes as well.
It's a solid one. It's a good one. Sunk Cost, of course. Sunk Cost is like big kind of Jimmy Kim episodes. It's a really
I feel like Rebecca is kind of like in this same vein of this episode where it's a chess piece episode in a good way.
Yes, but also it's Sunk Cost. Sunk Cost is very courtroom reliant, and we spent some time in a courtroom in this episode, so that's kind of interesting. Okay, writer Heather Marion, who wrote some really good ones from Better Call Saul. Heather Marion, who I hear is in really good shape, by the way. Heather from the cousins themselves. The cousins, folks, apropos of their characters, they are very friendly and very really nice individuals. All right, so don't buy into they're really good at playing different characters. All right, so they're really nice guys. So Heather Marion, she wrote Click, of course, the one of the finales of season 2. Yeah, Click and Slip. Really good one. Basically where Saul's he's starting his descent before he reaches the big gobsmacked low point of episode 9 from last season. We're like, oh my god, he did something so morally reprehensible. It's like right before that. It's like when he slips and falls in the store. He's starting Slipping Jimmy Returns with Slips. That's her. Okay, so let's start things off. We start things off big, folks. Flashback.
Oh man. Okay, Dragon. I don't think this was intentional, but when I was watching this, I was convinced that it was Jimmy and Chuck.
I didn't get that at all. Here's my experience while I was watching. I kept going back and forth because the minute I saw this kid, and I get basically when I heard that music, you have some really it's kind of 60s, early 70s music. I think it's 68. I'm pretty sure that's when the song was, but regardless, at least that's when the copyright on the song was. So I presume it's 68. The point is, early 70s, late 60s. Really, I love the song choice for that opening, and we basically have. I kept wondering if the kid was Mike because of the ears, because this kid looked like Jonathan Banks, and I love that in the casting. Got a kid that looked vaguely like Jonathan Banks, and then of course in the white. I was kept flip flopping. Is it Banks or is Mike the father who's been blurred out?
I guess the reason I kind of went to Chuck is because the fact that the fatherly figure was more obscured, and obviously Chuck is quite a bit older than Jimmy, so I don't know, but I know it kind of doesn't make sense in retrospect, but yes, outside of me being stupidly faked out by that whole thing, writers, you're doing something that you're not even intending, and I'm loving it.
Okay, but seriously, this flashback, we start with a flashback of a boy watching his father build a carport, which is a direct callback to something we set up last season.
Sure.
Again, we got this great music going on here. It's a very loving sequence, and I love that this is inside Mike's head. I really do. It makes me love this scene even more so. Yeah, the kid looks again properly looks vaguely like Jonathan Banks for the fact that it looks has to you have to buy this to be Banks's kid, and I buy it. We obscure the man via windshield, and I love that from a distance. Once I was kind of putting it together, I was like, wait a minute, if that is Mike again, that's like the actor from a distance does look a little bit like young Jonathan Banks, and I love that too. That's the thing. Like they obviously they didn't do any young. They didn't do kind of like a Lola effect from the Marvel movies on him. What they did is they just have like an actor they were casting to look like young Jonathan Banks. So if you look at like Beverly Hills Cop, you'll see young Jonathan Banks or something along those lines. But yeah, so we obscure the man via the windshield, and he's pouring the cement, and basically as he's poured the cement for the carport, basically like a little awning to go over the car so the rain doesn't get on, stuff like that. You need like a cement foundation. He kind of his son comes up here and he gives him like this little stick to write his name in, and he writes the name. We have this beautiful little reveal that makes you all teary-eyed. Maddie. It's like, of course, Maddie's like, I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, that's so beautiful and that's so moving. And then we have this perfect
like
cut.
A hard cut. A hard
yes!
cut.
This hard cut. And this perfect hard cut to Mike's, like this haunting moment that's to Mike's memory. And initially, again, it's a misdirect in the best of ways because you think Mike is just totally
it's such a misdirect, and I love it. It's like Dragon to me might be I don't want to overhype it, but it's among my favorite cold opens in all of the ABQ-Verse.
It is a fantastic cold open. So we cut a hard cut to Mike, basically build the memory of building things for young Maddie, or with young Maddie, which again we set up with Stacy. Says Maddie says used to build things all the time, like that carport. So again, we got to see the carport that she was talking about when Mike was kind of asked to build stuff for the group. Mm-hmm. So again, we reveal Mike at the support group, and again, everyone's all again. This perfect mystery to start on too. By the way, everyone in the group is dumbstruck. They're gobsmacked, and then of course, Tiki Banks's line. Tell Banks's line.
You wanted me to talk. I talked.
Which makes you think Mike's been a silent guy going to these meetings, and the first thing that he shares is this traumatic, beautiful little memory of Maddie. But no, it's that would have been great, but it's even better.
So much better.
So then we get the now I mentioned this because usually we don't talk about this, but this time had great significance.
Dragon, I'm glad you're bringing this up.
So traditionally, folks, now again, this is fascinating. I don't know if this is what Peter Gould has been hyping up since the beginning, because the idea is that each season they use the same 10 little glimpses at Saul for like the opening, like dun, 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 basically the Better Call Saul opening. Mm-hmm. They use like a different glimpse of Saul Goodman. And they basically reused them for each season. I was like, oh man, I'm surprised they didn't change it up each season, but you can only do so much, I guess. But what they did is there's a little alteration on it, and in this case, there's a thematic symbolism attached to it. And again, might be a happy accident. I would hope it's intentional. We had the episode 4 in every season is Saul's phone drawer. Uh-huh. And of course, the phone drawer, definitely we see the origin of it in this episode.
Oh, no doubt, yeah.
So it's great. Okay, so Westward Ho Motel, that is. We're going to the Westward Ho Motel.
All right.
Tika, they shot this in a way very palatable to one of your favorites.
Sure.
Like to say what that favorite is?
Go ahead. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, Dragon, honestly.
The way they shot the Westward Ho Motel is basically the way they explore it. They explore it, the direction, the way they were doing this, they were trying to mimic Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, Pirates of the Caribbean, right, yeah, where it's like basically we see a lot of different vignettes kind of going through, and different things happening in different sections of this environment.
Yeah, because we have this bag man who's just basically traveling around the corners and the corridors. Essentially, the motel's treated like a drug compound, which I love that, but very Scarface-like. Very just
Dragon, if anyone could do drug dealers and drug addicts and make it comedic and endearing, it would be Mark Davis, the genius behind Pirates of the Caribbean. I swear to God, I could literally picture something like that with him.
So the idea here is
there'd be like a heartwarming theme song and everything.
Sure. So the idea here is this is like a roach motel that's been converted into a kind of a drug cartel compound, essentially. So Diego's our guy here who we're going to reveal who he works for. A guy named Diego's selling the product that Nacho and Arturo were getting from Fring. So it's the same product in the same bag, the one that was lifted from that from the staged drug hit, the hit and stealing the product and killing Arturo, all that fake stuff. Basically, Diego is selling not just product to a rival cartel, the Espinosa cartel, and Diego makes his way back after the deal has gone off without a hitch. He goes back and we reveal Victor is in the car waiting, as in Diego is in league with Victor, as in it's all part of the grander Fring plan.
What a twist!
Yeah.
I'm loving this Fring stuff, Dragon, and as you know, I was a little bit skeptical about the Fring stuff in season 3. I feel like the Fring stuff didn't quite have the punch to it that I was hoping it would have in season 3. But my God, season 4 Fring is more than making up for it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he was bad in season 3. I'm just saying, like, for the whole, like, how hype the whole, like, Fring's back was. It was more, he had, like, a few moments of being pleasant with Mike in season 3, and that was really about it. He had a couple intimidating moments, but I digress.
If this episode's a chess match, like putting pieces in motion here, Gus Fring's like better than Bobby Fischer. Then again, most people morally are better than Bobby Fischer, but Bobby Fischer, the chess player, that's one thing there. I mean, that's on the beat.
All right. So Dragon, let's get into a scene between Jimmy and Kim that had me crestfallen in a rather subtle way, and I'm not really hearing a lot of talk about it, and I'm wondering if you had the same reaction to it.
I might have. Let's get into it. Okay. So Jimmy gets a call from Robbie Finn, Mr. Finn, from CC Mobile on Tiki. I'm loving this. All the jobs that he'd circled in that episode we're seeing, because we saw CC Mobile, the cell phone store, circled. And again, we also had stuff like the laser tag place was on that paper.
God, dude.
We didn't see him
fucking see that.
Now we didn't see him circle it, but I think they're definitely going to deliver on that. Mm-hmm. He was circling things that we didn't see, so I think
we need to have Price as the manager of the laser tag place.
You never know, and we did name drop Price this season, so
of course.
I think again putting things into motion. That's what this episode is.
I think we're probably going to see Price, given that. Let's just say, without jumping ahead too much, let's just say the Hummels are likely going to be a season-long storyline. So
possibly.
All right.
So essentially, CC Mobile's calling back. Jimmy, he's done a bunch of job interviews. He's kind of putting his kind of foot in doors here again.
I've kind of come to the conclusion that these job interviews are basically him sort of like honing his craft and sharpening his skills. Like, that's kind of like how I read the Rorschach test of it all, if you will.
That's Tiki. That's quite possible, but again, I'm holding. That would also work perfectly, but I'm still holding out hopes that maybe they're doing the whole. This is working like an elaborate plan to get his law license faster, maybe.
I
don't know. We'll see. But again, it might just be gainful employment through seedy means. Maybe that's kind of ways. I think it's kind of meet in the middle between what we're saying there. I think you might be more right at the end of the day. We'll see how it goes. So,
all right.
Our CC Mobile guy calls. He offers Jimmy the position of shift supervisor, and Jimmy he calmly. He politely. Turns him down. He turns him down respectfully. He says, "You know what? My plans have changed. Thank you, though." So then Kim's getting ready for the day, and she has a little post-it note. Oh, the ominous post-it note. Jimmy's now again, Tiki. This was a fantastic little bit here where Jimmy's asking about dinner plans. Basically, what Jimmy's trying to do is he's trying to perpetually live in kind of what he views. Now, again, I don't know. At least in the moment, the way Jimmy's feeling this season, again, he's basically not dealing with his feelings of Chuck. He's just very numb to it because of that last scene that he had with Chuck. He's numb to it because he views, he just views he and Chuck's relationship as done. So he's not even bothering with it. But Kim feels that he should. And regardless, Jimmy's living in this perpetual thing of, okay, I'm going to make every night like that really good night that Kim and I had, where I brought him the Thai food, basically the night where she let Hamlin have it. And you basically they have that really sweet love scene. Then we go to the fish tank, all that stuff. That beautiful little night that they had together, watching movies and stuff. And basically, Jimmy's trying to keep that perpetually going, day after day, if he can, because that was a good day. Now, Jimmy's using this as well. It seems that Jimmy, when he does, it's very akin to what he did in season 2, Tiki, where Jimmy's avoiding his problems. Like after the whole Chuck betrayed him and Marco died. He's just kind of like at the beginning of season 2, just kind of lounging around the pool, just kind of directionless, slipping Jimmy. That's kind of what he was. And I think that's kind of the rut that he's in right now. I think ruts are an important thing.
I'm glad you're mentioning this because I feel like it's
it's season 2, Jimmy, but in kind of a more refined, more complex kind of way, where it's like with season 2, it was more fun. In season 4, it's more self-destructive. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and I really like that choice. And Tiki, I think a big thematic thing with three of our characters, and I'll hit on this when we get to like more towards the end of the episode. But I think let's just say Jimmy, Kim, and Mike, I think are very intertwined in this episode in their arcs, and I really love that. So Kim, she delicately, very delicately, she basically with this. The reason I'm drawing out this moment here, folks, is that Jimmy seems like Jimmy's going to be par for the course, just trying to make every night like that one night. Kim picks up on this, so she delicately recommends that he see a shrink, that he see a therapist, I believe. And again, she delicately broaches because she doesn't want to force him into anything. And Jimmy agrees, but he has to check his schedule. Now, Teague, my read on this moment, and I had a really kind of great roller coaster moment here. I might be reading this my own way. I don't know. I might be crazy.
Okay. I have a feeling you and I might be on the same page, but let's get on it.
So initially, Jimmy, he agrees, like, oh yeah, sure, I'll get to it. In a way, I'll get to it, but I have to check my schedule. I didn't tell you this, but I got a job. A shift supervisor at CC Mobile.
Okay.
And
so Dragon, at this moment, as soon as he says, I got a job, I was crestfallen because I was like, oh my God, the son of a bitch just bold-faced lies to her.
I'm with you there.
Okay, good. So, I'm glad we're on the same page with this, Dragon.
So here's what I was going with. Okay, so he has like Jimmy lies to her in that moment. It's like, oh my God, no. Basically,
Dragon, I was heartbroken. I was just like, oh my God, dude. Like, this might be. I'm so glad we're on the same page about it because I've literally not heard anyone else bring it up.
No, we'll see if we go to the same place with. I was dialed into that moment there, where basically saying, okay, it's basically what we saw in the trailer. The whole, it's gainful employment for 10 months until I can become a lawyer again, which again is pretty much the gist of the season from what we know. So she leaves, and here's the moment I had with it. I don't know if you had this with it. So there's this great moment of truth, and basically this is the moment of truth where it's like, are we going the full Saul Goodman like we did? Basically the big like that. Basically the thing this season's the nailed. Sorry, not nailed. The fall yes, it was fall. The fall episode from season 3. Basically, that what the gist of this whole season is going to be him making those Saul Goodman choices are going to make you hate Jimmy McGill and basically long for Jimmy McGill when he's becoming Saul Goodman. Like, oh my God, Jimmy, how can you make such a horrible choice? Like those moments. And I thought, okay, this is going to be a big moment. There's a big moment of truth here where she leaves. And the whole lie was sinking in on me. Like, oh my God, lied to her, poor Jimmy, and then he makes this moment of truth decision where he calls back. He calls the CC Mobile guy back and asks, "Hey, if it's not too late, I'll take you up on that job." So what
I feel like it was genuine on Jimmy's part when he was telling her that he got the job. He was pretty confident that he could call back and get the job back. But my God, I think what the roller coaster, that's the perfect analogy because, like I said, Dragon, I feel like it's so subtle that not a lot of people are picking up on just how big of a deal it is. The fact that he bold-faced lies to her face, about something so big. Trust is something that these two are, it's like unbreakable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, here's the interesting thing. I think we might have a smidge difference here, and you tell me what you think of this. So my read on this still is, the main point I've heard this kind of said on like either the Insider podcast or something, which again I think has kind of been confirmed that the main reason I view that he took that job is he's avoiding the Chuck issue. That's the main issue. That's the main thing. Is just he wants an excuse not to see the shrink. Therefore, he wants the job to keep up appearances. Like, oh, I'm busy with the cell phone job. But here's the thing I read into it. Okay, here's my big thing. I think the character level of this. I think on a character level, Jimmy realizes I've just lied to Kim. I can't lie to Kim. And That's what I'm saying. Like that was his big moment of truth. Like, no, I can't lie to her. I gotta now I didn't want that job. Now I'm gonna have to go call the job because I can't lie to her now.
Okay, so yeah, I feel like basically the only thing that's kind of up in the air right now is like whether or not when he was lying to her, did he make the decision in the moment that he was going to call back for the job or after she left the room? That's basically the only thing that's up in the air.
Sure.
The optimistic part of me would think that he decided to call back in the moment, and that's why he lied to her in the first place, is because he knew he could remedy the situation. But I like your take on it too, for sure.
That's the thing. I just think again, we're waiting for that big moment where Jimmy does something like this and he can't come back from it. That's what we're waiting for. And we're kind of teasing that right now. Where again, it's like Kim is that moral barometer, and what they kind of tease going to this season is that Jimmy's looking at these figures.
Well, I
and
mean,
like,
frankly, Dragon, I don't say this in a negative way at all, but they basically laid out a my first foreshadowing in this episode for like what Jimmy's gonna do, and we'll get into it.
Sure, sure. And what I'm saying is, like, this season, it could be a whole thing of. Sorry, I was trying to remember those. Okay, that's not important. That was just
okay.
So, so we have Kim. So Kim's back at the courthouse, which we set up in the last episode.
Yeah, and Dragon, I gotta say the Kim stuff is probably the most like, I don't want to say it drags the episode, but it's the least exciting. I'll say that much. It's the least exciting. But then again, I just feel like there is some power in some of this stuff too. So, by no means is it bad.
So Kim's she's back at the courthouse and she's chatting up Marty, kind of like the security guy who I think we're going to see again next episode. But we have security guy, and she's basically getting like the docket. And if you actually go to a courthouse, they have like a little docket and they tell you like what if you want to sit on trials, you can. They tell you what's like a train schedule almost. They lay out the thing. Of course, now it's a little bit more modern. They have like digital like displays instead of like asking the guy, but essentially it's the same gist. Where she learns about who's on the docket and whatnot. So she sits in on Judge Munsinger, Judge Benedict Munsinger. And let's see. So I read this as she's been doing this. She's been sitting in on cases on courtrooms since last episode, kind of looking for direction here. So I think she's been doing this for like a day or two. But so she's sitting in on State versus Scotty Blakely, I think. Yeah, she's sitting on Blakey. That's the one.
Yeah,
on Scotty Blakey. The judge spots Kim, and this is the thing I love in the direction here. Too. I love that you can see. I love this reading. I love what's not said in this scene here. I love you can play it on mute almost. You can see the judge like he spots Kim, and it's like okay, there's something going on. And he says, Miss Wexler, again, imagine how terrifying as you go into a courtroom and like, you're just like observing, and the judge calls you out.
Yeah.
Like, are you here on business? No, just observing. So, so basically, the guy Scotty here, he was a no-show with a bench warrant. So now he has a bench warrant because he didn't show up to his previous, basically when he was summoned. Let's see. So then the bailiff goes over to Kim, whispers that the judge wants to see in chambers during recess, during the lunch hour. Very ominous. So then we have, yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say I have this speech if you want it.
Sure, if you want to, take us through it.
Well, set it up.
Okay, so basically we have this casual conversation between Kim and Munsinger as he's eating his eggplant and okra. Here, and let me see. It's basically he's asking, in general, he's asking like, "Hey, what's you have it from this point? Like, what exactly the conversation goes?"
Well, no, I mostly have the job offer.
All right, okay, let me build to that then. So basically, he's asking what's up. She says, "Yeah, I'm just observing. I'm not working for HHM anymore. I'm kind of a free agent. I handle banking for Mesa Verde." So then I believe now is where we get the
yeah. So basically, he kind of like gets this kind of really peppy demeanor about him. He's like, I heard about a job, and I think you might be the right person for it. Interested? And Kim's, she perks up. She's like, of course. Now, I can't share the details just yet, but I could give you the broad strokes. There's a young woman, early 20s, pregnant with her first child, nearing the end of term. Healthy as a horse. She develops a complication. She goes to the hospital for delivery, and there's a mistake with the anesthesia. She associates in her oxygen mask, stops breathing. The baby's delivered fine. But the young mother suffers brain damage, and she's left comatose on a respirator. The family is naturally devastated, and they're broke. and they have no way to pay for the young lady's care. And to make matters worse, the hospital refuses to take responsibility. And they've hired one of the most expensive firms in the state. And Kim is just kind of like nodding along, and she's like, "This is a plot to the verdict."
I love that we keep this going. That Kim and Jimmy have fantastic.
She's just like, "Yep, yep." Like it sinks in what it is. She's like, "All right, I know what you're doing, but I'm just gonna let you finish."
That's the thing. I love that Kim Wexler. Again, we've set this up so many times that Jimmy and Kim, they watch movies and TV shows all the time. And again, Kim would have mastery of knowledge that, again, most lawyers, like Howard Hamlin in this situation, he wouldn't realize it. He'd be taken in by it. I know it.
So basically he's saying the whole point to his speech, and Dragon, I love this speech because it shows just how harsh and cruel the real world can be, and how much Kim Wexler wants to stand up against that cruelty.
I gotta tell you, we have kind of a meta thing with this here, where basically what he says, the way he starts this off is, it's pretty much like the cell of Better Call Saul. We're like, no, we're not going to do like your average courtroom drama here. It's like, no, we're not. The real world isn't like that. We're doing our own thing here, the real world.
So he's kind of threatening about really bad cases. Like, I believe someone that threw pee on a coworker or something like that.
Well, the way it went is like, that's movies and TV. This is the real world. And my next case is a janitor who threw pee on his boss. And
then a girl who like stabbed someone over a grilled cheese sandwich.
Stabbed her boyfriend over a girl who stabbed her boyfriend over a grilled cheese sandwich.
This is the real world, Miss Wexler, and you won't find any Save the Broken Lawyer cases in it. And so he's basically calling him out. He's saying, like, don't think you're the first to try and rediscover your love and passion for the law in this courtroom. And and she's and he's expressing, if you're not satisfied with the work you're doing for Mesa Verde, give some of your money to charity. Which, that's a good solution, but it's not really satisfying to Kim, because Kim is, of course, seeking something a little bit more than that.
Well, specifically the way he outlines this, and I harp on this because it's a really great, I think it's a really great character thing we're setting up with Kim here. Is like, stick to Mesa Verde, basically saying, hey, you got everything you need right now. Stick to Mesa Verde, make money, give some to charity.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he does mention, again, this is kind of like the threat of like, hey, put up or shut up here, where he says, hey, we have perpetual PD overload, as in we have so many like public defenders around here, we just, we have so many around here, we can just have them sitting around doing nothing. We're going to use them if we can, which means next time I see you in my courtroom, I'm going to put you to work.
So, I feel like he's really proud of himself, and he's just like, all right, I really let her have it. That Miss Wexler isn't getting anywhere near this courtroom again. Oh boy, didn't I do a good job?
Then we have this awesome reveal here. We have this awesome reveal. We focus on the judge. He's getting down the dock. He's like, okay, I got to tell you, I was kind of entrenched with the case for a moment here, because apparently there's some sort of conflict of interest. Like, I'll be honest, I was kind of wondering what that conflict of interest was. But the point is, like, he says, okay, let me address the appeal on this. And of course, it takes a beat. He sees Kim sitting there, and he goes back to I just love that bit where he takes notice, and it's like, yes. And Tiki, again, this is what I'm talking about. This is the charm of Better Call Saul. We take these mundane, like, ordinarily that's a boring conversation. It's like you fast forward through that in a legal show, but no, it's so gripping, and it's so like, I don't know, it's only that X factor of Better Call Saul. It's making the mundane sell so well. It's like, yeah, it's like Kim Wexler's Mary Tyler Moore throwing the hat up in the air moment when she's sitting in that courtroom,
Oh my God, that's a great analogy.
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it's now essentially what I'm getting at in the broad spectrum with Kim here. My read on this is that I feel this is a gray matter situation for Kim, which I love it when we do this. We did this with Jimmy in the first episode of Better Call Saul. We did this with Walter White, to go with the historic example of it, where at a certain point in the show, you give your character basically the answer to their big problem, and how they proceed from that, like how they go after that. Like, do they take the obvious solution? We give the character a problem, then we give them a solution right off the bat, and the question is, how does that character react? Do they take the easy solution, therefore the show's over? Or do they not take it, make the interesting choice, and then they have, like, why would that character make that decision? So Kim, as the judge, as Munsinger here, as he pointed out, you have everything you need. You got Mesa Verde. You don't need a case. And as we saw, Mesa Verde has plans to keep Kim busy for decades, probably. So she has all that she could want. But I think, and my real I
it's
think
like a little baby bird, little broken baby bird.
God. So I like, again, my real I think that she's like Jimmy in season 2, at the top of season 2, where she doesn't. Basically, the reason Jimmy was doing that stuff.
Absolutely. This is Kim's own Davis and Maine. I'm
Yeah.
glad to bring that up.
And that's the thing. Like, Jimmy, the reason he rejected less, I guess, in the grand scheme, he also did this because of Davis and Maine, but for Chuck and for Davis and Maine, the same reason, I guess, is that, he didn't want things thrust upon him. He wants to hang his own shingle. He wants to kind of make his own, forge his own destiny. That's kind of what Kim's realizing here. Like, you know what? Mesa Verde, I mean, I fought for Mesa Verde, and I kind of got it, and I did good work by him. I kind of set him up for the future. I don't know if that's what I don't want to be landlocked into this grand sweeping gray matter plan with Mesa Verde. I kind of want to do my own thing. And again, that's kind of what she's doing in this courtroom. Like, I don't know how long this is going to be. This is kind of her equivalent of a more proactive version of, like, her laying in the pool. It's her laying in the courtroom. So, yeah. Okay.
All right. So next scene we have, oh boy, get ready for it, Dragon. We have Mike. And you know what, Dragon? We love Mike.
You're darn right we do. We love Mike Ermintrout.
And now we finally got this image right.
Yes, and hopefully it'll just keep growing from this. If all it goes according to plan, it'll basically grow from this, folks, and this is fine. This is great. This is let's see, what was I? Oh yes, so of course, not only do we love Mike Ermintrout, we love Jonathan Banks, the actor, and how do we celebrate that love? We just like to kind of like a little earmark, like a little notch in our Mike Ermintrout belt here, like an image per episode, like a marking of some kind each episode out of our 10 episodes.
Now realizing Mike, we already kind of briefly touched on him, but you know what? This is the first time we're coming back around to him from the cold opens.
I mean, to be fair, that cold open was like, it was a great moment. It was like literally like a minute, then it was done. So here we actually have some more, a little bit more. Mike.
All right.
Anyway, but yes, so of course, let's just dive right into it and celebrate our Mike love right here. So Mike's doing a crossword, which Mike loves to do. He's doing a crossword in Loyola's.
Oh God.
And he loves that place. So he's meeting with Anita.
Yep.
Now Anita is kind of his pal from group that he met, and she kind of inspired him to find the body of the Good Samaritan. So Anita has like Anita and Mike have an interesting dynamic, and I wonder your read on this is, Tiki. Like with the Anita stuff here, do you think there's a bit of a romance going on between Anita and Mike?
You know what? I kind of read it that way a little bit, at least.
Like setup, at the very least,
like
setup.
Mild flirtation.
That's what I'm saying.
How I would describe it, mild flirtation.
I just love we have both women that that flirt with Mike here in this episode. And we have Fran the waitress, and we have Anita here, and that's the thing. So Anita,
Mike's a player, man. What can I say?
He is. But of course, that's the Banks charm, buddy. Okay, for one, we had a Easter egg with Anita here. It's like not a lot of people saw this, but this is great. And I didn't notice it myself. I had to have it pointed out. I thought it was great.
Baker uniform, but I didn't notice like what it was connected to.
So yeah, here's the thing. It's actually the double reference. I didn't tell you about this part here. So Craddock Marine Bank. She's in her banking uniform. She has a little name tag, and of course with the advent of digital, which I love, they said they miss film from Breaking Bad, but with digital, and I think honestly, Tiki, I think the difference between film and digital was a perfect choice they made for Better Call Saul, because Better Call Saul is all about the little details, hence the digital. Better Call Saul is about kind of the cinematic kind of like charm of like big events happening. That's more film and kind of the finer details. Anyway, my point is, if you notice, Anita's bank specifically is Craddock Marine Bank. Now, Craddock Marine Bank was the very same bank, and again, this might be set up for Anita in the future here, is the same bank where Mike stores his hazard pay, where Mike stores the money that he's saving for Kaylee for her future.
Yep.
And where I think Mike also Mike and some of his guys also stored their hazard pay at this bank. I think. Basically, a lot of Fring's guys eventually will store their hazard pay at this very same bank. So that's going to be That's gonna be interesting. The other thing I didn't tell you about is that it's also an X-Files reference. X-Files had a bank, a Craddock Marine Bank, so it's a pull from X-Files where Vince Gilligan got a start.
So like the Vince Gilligan cinematic universe, just a more deep cut reference into that.
Oh, for all intents and purposes, because you got to remember we also have Bryan Cranston in that. Bryan Cranston wasn't the X-Files, so.
Right.
And without that, we have no Breaking Bad, by the way. Without that X-Files episode, no Bryan Cranston Breaking Bad. So, like, they have this cute little bit that suggests romance where it's like, Esmeralda, like, this many across, Esmeralda, huh? Like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Oh, look at you. So there may or may not be something there, and the reason I think the definite proof.
The reason why I think there's something there is she straight up asks him on a date.
I know, that's what I was about to get to. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So at the very least, we can't be that far off. Where at the very least, she essentially invites Mike on a date. With basically, there's this Launchpad concert. I think it's called. What is it? Yeah, it's Launchpad.
Launchpad McQuack.
God, yes. So she invites him to her friends. Got her tickets to either her friends performing in the Launchpad concert. And so she invites Mike. Says, "Nah, I promised Stacy I'd do
what kind of pilot intentionally crashes planes?
Not a safe one."
All right.
So she says, "Hey," again, very, very flirtatiously, she says, "Hey, we could ditch group." He says, "Nah, I promised Stacy, but maybe afterwards." So Anita brings to Mike's attention again. The idea, they had like a meeting scheduled, so the idea like they're hanging out a little bit afterwards. So again, Mike, there's a little something there.
Yeah, for sure.
Mike's worried. I'm sorry. Anita tells Mike that she's worried about Henry. So Henry's a member of the group, and Henry's been a little down in the dumps, mentioning the death of his wife and how he's just having trouble getting over that. And Mike tells her, kind of spoils the mystery here, when Mike says, "He's fine." She says, "Oh, how do you know?" "Because he's been lying." Basically, Mike's inner Philadelphian cop takes over here, where basically he points out all the clues, all the evidence, all the finer details. That his story keeps changing every time, and he has to tell the way he moves.
Yeah, the shifting hands, right?
Yep, and basically, I love this. This detail blew my mind. Like, yeah, it's a great little thing they wrote in there, where basically Mike is a baseball fan, and he knows that the Mets didn't get lights. Wrigley Field didn't get lights until like a certain year, basically a year that throws his the story of like when his wife like kissed at Wrigley Field just wouldn't line up with the details. So obviously, the guy's lying. So I love that there's kind of like a why versus what in this scene, where is concerned with like the why. Like again, she's a character's like why would he lie about that? Where Mike doesn't care about the why, he cares about the what. Like, okay, he's doing this, and that's all that matters. Like it's about he's getting the details wrong, he's lying about something, and that's how he's doing it. So the why, the what, and the hows is what Mike's concerned with in this scene. I think that's set up for where things are going to go later with Mike. So essentially, they make a $10 bet of like, okay, if you go to group tonight, you'll see if he does his tell, if he changes his story, you owe me $10.
And Dragon, what I love about this is it, like, obviously it's starting out as like a very chummy sort of like, like as we already established, but man, oh man, is it going to quickly turn into something that's not so happy-go-lucky.
The worm, and here's the thing, you're so sucked into it, we should have put together the reveal, but we didn't because we were so sucked into it. They were that clever with it.
Yep.
So, I guess getting back to Jimmy's story, which, by the way, I think we should switch back so we don't like have the mic thing for the whole episode like last time.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me.
We'll switch back to it later on. Let's just go.
For sure. Okay.
So,
Dragon, the thing I can say about the Jimmy story is like, yes, it's absolutely spinning its wheels, but my God, is it the most relatable thing?
It's so hard to capture boredom well, and I think they did it so well.
This almost might be the opposite of Inflatable, where it's like Jimmy is just so exuberant in that episode. But here, like, nope. Dragon, I can just say, like, as someone who used to work retail, like, this is just, it's the ultimate, like, day-to-day grind hell, where it's like there's literally nothing to do except sit and wait for people, sit and wait for, like, that, like 1 minute of human interaction that you're kind of just there for.
So, Jimmy, I love that Jimmy always gives it a legitimate try. I like that he's there at the store and he's polishing everything off. He's getting ready for the start of the day. Like Jimmy's a gamer, man. Like he's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm ready here. Like I'm game for the person. Again, Jimmy's a salesman, so he lives for the. Again, at his core, he's a salesman, so he lives to be a salesman. What's he gonna do? It's like he's just waiting there. It's like here's the thing. It's like it is kind of a cushy job in retrospect of like, oh, he doesn't have to do anything. But for Jimmy, he needs to distract himself with something this season. And this is a nightmare for him.
Oh.
So one, by the way, we're at the strip mall. I don't know if it's probably not the very same strip mall, but we're thematically seating in the strip mall. Saul Goodman.
Sure.
Also, I love this. In the rewatch, I caught this and it just blew my mind. I love that we have all these on the outside. This had to be a directorial choice because it's so perfect. We have all of these cell phone ads that are also synonymous with the Saul Goodman destiny.
right.
Because we have like the name of this name one that really stuck out to me is a phone can be more.
Oh man.
Where literally a phone's gonna be more for him, but also Jimmy.
Dragon, a phone can play Snake. Because it's the year 2002, and my golly gee, that's the most top of the line thing that a phone can do in 2002. How times change.
I actually did some digging, according to what I could find, that we're actually in 2003 at this point. We better Call Saul. Yay, years passed.
Okay.
Well, fun fact.
Return of the King is going to sweep the Oscars at the end of the year.
But I mean, yeah, I love that a phone can be more thematic to where he's going in the episode, but also to where he's going as a character. So that's kind of nice.
Uh-huh.
So we see again, he's good employees preparing for the day. Like, oh boy, but the place is a ghost town essentially. Mr. Finn calls. And he's checking in. It's like, hey, how's your first day going? And Jimmy informs him. Basically, Jimmy is informed of the big kind of proviso that, hey, you should know the location's kind of slow until inventory week, which I presume they're selling off the old stuff so they can make way for new stuff. Hence, the weeks of inventory coming in. That's my guess.
Mm-hmm.
So Jimmy just missed inventory week, so basically he's going to be there for like the slow weeks. Jimmy requests a transfer to a busy location. Where he says, I mean, sure, no problem, but you have to like pull the schedule and see who we can kind of shift around there. So basically, right now we gotta give it a couple weeks and then we'll see. So he's amenable to it. It's just gonna take some time. I'll see if I can swing by later. So then we have this. I love in Better Call Saul. I love that we had an homage to The Great Escape, where he basically takes like one of the little stress balls, and I love the Tiki. I can vouch for this from experience. A little stress ball does bounce exactly like that. It's like barely a bounce, but it's a bounce.
Okay, here's the thing, Dragon. Here's the thing. You say Great Escape, but I've heard it from both ends. It's like, to me, I read it more as The Shining.
I didn't think of that. That's fair.
I read it as Shining simply because of the whole like all work and no play make Jack a dull boy angle of it all.
I gotta tell you, I think it's entirely possible, and I think that might be what they're referencing. But I read it as Great Escape because he's kind of in a prison of his own.
Here's the thing, Dragon. I've heard both things referenced on different reviews of the episode, so I think different people interpret it different ways. Like I'm more familiar with The Shining, so that's why I instantly came to that.
Of course. But I mean, yeah, like one of the famous scenes from Great Escape, of course, is basically you're bouncing the ball in like confined space, which is bouncing it off the window. Like that reminds me identically of of Great Escape. So man, that's really interesting. And basically, Jimmy dreads. Jimmy is a character who I feel dreads boredom, and he needs to be distracted more than ever this season. Where again, he needs to not think about.
And this is like Jimmy alone with his thoughts is basically like the emotional version of the slipping Jimmy is a chimp with a machine gun, slipping Jimmy with a log degree. It's like a chimp with a machine gun. It's dangerous for Jimmy to be alone with his thoughts. And so basically he's putting himself in the most vulnerable position he can possibly put himself in with this job.
Exactly. So exactly, he needs distraction for himself with the chuck of it all, and of course from Kim walks in, like says, "Oh yeah." Basically, if she walks in and sees that he's busy doing nothing, obviously that's not going to help him either. So let's see. Back to the Salamanca cousins.
Oh boy, Dragon! I don't even know how to talk about this scene. Boy, I mean, this scene left me speechless.
Sorry.
Yeah, pun intended. But what can I say? I mean, I'm just like, Dragon,
Pretty
this
solid,
is
right?
why I love this episode. This is why I love this episode.
Shibin knocked it out of the ballpark on this, didn't he?
I mean, I'm just like, I'm gushing right now.
All right, so what happens here? So the cousins and Nacho, a merry trio, really. They stake out the Westward Ho motel, and they spot the silver Firebird. So again, Nacho wasn't just making up a car. Thank goodness, he was citing. Basically, it's all part of Fring's greater plan. That silver Firebird specifically was the vehicle that leads to the Espinosa cartel.
Uh-huh.
So Nacho confirms, yeah, it's the Espinosas. That's the crew that hit us. So again, basically, we see Fring's manufactured drug war is going off without a hitch so far. Where Nacho say, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna plan. Basically, Nacho's kind of planning an attack, throwing a suggestion for a plan of attack. Okay, we're gonna need more guys.
As soon as we see the cousins, and we're just like, yeah, there's no way they're going along with that, dude. Like come on, Nacho, get real here.
This is a moment that reminds you of the opening of season 3 of Breaking Bad. Where, the cousins are coming for revenge, and it's like there's nothing stopping them. It's like they hitch a ride, they burn the truck down. So that's the
okay. Also, can I just praise this episode because Nacho got shot last episode, and he's still dealing with that on a physical level in this episode.
Consistency.
Like, how rarely do we get that in TV shows?
I don't know. I'll tell you that much.
God.
Like, hey, Roy Harper just got shot through the leg with an arrow, yet he's fine.
He's fine.
Well, it's like fine. It basically treat it like he got a splinter, and he'll be like bandaged up for a day or so, just kind of like walking around, like, oh boy, I pulled a hamstring, but I'm gonna be fine.
All right, so the cousins get out of the car and they just, they grab their duffel bag, and oh my God, Dragon!
Nacho's reaction to this is great too. By the way, basically, says, okay, we're gonna get back and we're gonna hit him tonight. Then they just look to each other, get out of the car, grab the bag, and it's like Nacho. I love Nacho even get out of the car. He's just watching this unfold.
Yeah, and the whole thing is done from Nacho's point of view, and just shit. Like, I have no idea why more people aren't praising the crap out of this scene, Dragon. I feel like this episode might be a hidden gem in Better Call Saul. Honestly.
Remember, they've been building this up in the marketing. That when we had the shootout and we had Nacho wounded, and we saw Nacho wounded. Now we have the big shootout we've been promised this season. So the cousins essentially do just if anyone's underestimating this, let me put it to you this way, folks. It's a 2-man assault. I mean, Nacho helps out, but I mean, come on, in all realities, he's kind of our cameraman in the situation, really. My point is, it's a 2-man assault on a fully stocked compound. Basically, imagine the end of Scarface with 2 men.
Yep.
So again, that might be an exaggeration, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's kind of what it is. Like, basically, imagine just 2 guys taking on all those guys instead of the one solo Tony Montana. Essentially, it's kind of a similar thing. Point is. So we start off with the cousins. They have this bag full of weapons, and they just walk off as if they have product or something. And then basically I'm sorry, it's so violent and awesome. He grabs, basically with a knife. One of the cousins stabs both of them to death with a knife. And then they're armed, and then they're basically making their 2-man assault in the compound. And Nacho's like, oh my. I love his line too. It's this perfect line, Salamanca's. Oh my God! It's the only way you can exclaim these guys. There's nothing stopping me. Boy, Salamanca's all crazy and violent. So Nacho, we have this POV with the binoculars and everything, and the cousins, they stab the guards and make their way to the compound. And basically, again, as we set up, and basically so brilliantly, we explore the compound that Pirates of the Caribbean shot from the opening. So now we know how the layout is. So Nacho is now in a dire spot here, where basically Nacho doesn't know exactly what he's doing here. He's just following Fring's orders, but we don't know how much he's been instructed with here. So basically, there's a question how much does Nacho? Because remember, he's Nacho's caught in between 2 sides here, and the cousins are no slouches. The cousins are smart, because if Nacho doesn't help out, that's going to cause questions like, "Hey, why didn't you help out?" But if he does help out and he's uberly successful, wait a minute, did Fring want these guys take each other out and hey, the Salamancas live, and now we still have to deal with them. He doesn't know exactly what he's supposed to do here. So Nacho's in a rock and a hard place here.
And I also love the moral dilemma here too, because it's these are bad guys, but at the end of the day, they're literally being slaughtered based on Nacho's word, based on his false word. and slaughtered in a very violent, horrific manner.
And also, from what we can tell, I mean, at the very least, we know Nacho's inherently, again, we saw this with the whole Tuco of it all, or in season 1. Nacho's not inherently a violent guy. He's more the negotiator. He's more like he'll intimidate, but he's not necessarily a killer. Like he'll brutalize people, but he's not necessarily a killer. He kills people in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely kills one person. He's prepared to kill a few others he's not comfortable with. And you can see that all throughout the scene. So for the sake of his father, because he doesn't know what's going to happen here, he has to do the best choice that's going to protect his father. Because if he ticks off one of these guys, his father's a goner. So he enters the war zone, essentially. With like gunshots and like all this gunfire and everything going off here. Like I'd let them settle and hopefully kill each other. But that's just me. So he'll get injured with both sides of Nacho are shot here. Like, he can't even like click his gun back with like his shoulder because his shoulder has all been shot through. And his side, like the left's like he's got a bum arm, he's got a bum side as he's going in here and he kills a man, again, not his usual style. We had an explosion, the big explosion. I was wrong about my prediction about the explosion, but there was somehow an explosion went off. I don't know how that happened, but
Dragon, it happened because of the mere presence of the cousins. I mean, come on, don't you know the logic in which this world is run?
Oh, the cousins, they love fire and explosions. I don't know why. So we have an explosion, very well directed action on the whole here. Nacho,
the cousins. I love the actor's story about this explosion where they're walking as if something's like bound to hit them.
And that's
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's the explosion from their introduction in season 3, Tiki.
Oh, okay, my bad. Well, I still love that story, just like, okay, if anything hits you, just keep walking. Just ignore it.
That was Cranston's direction, too.
Yep.
Of course, just freaking out afterwards, like, oh my god, I was so close. So Nacho begins to assist in all the action here, but as he's about to kill like another guy who's like kind of opening fire on the other Salamanca cousin, his side wound acts up. Nacho's in trouble. Kind of falls to the ground. He's helpless. Like, oh my god, poor Nacho seems to be. He's a goner, and like he's just like, oh, what is going to happen? Then we have this really awesome moment.
Oh yeah.
The other Salamanca cousin just kind of shows up like an angel of mercy coming to save the day or something. Like he rides in like the cavalry, like a Valkyrie, and he basically has like with a handgun. Basically, this is like the shot. I kept seeing this shot in the marketing. We finally got the shot about the one Salamanca cousin like shooting the other guy to save his brother. I love the bond between the cousins. If we ever do the cousins again, I want to keep unraveling that. I love the bond between these brothers from that fantastic. The most human we've ever seen the cousins was that flashback when they were young kids, and the sadistic Tio Salamanca basically says, "Hey, you mad at your brother? I'm going to kill your brother." What do you think of that? That whole thing it's psychotic.
Yep.
Cousins save each other, and I don't know if you remember the nod, Tiki. I love the nod. Basically, one of the cousins gives Nacho the nod of respect, like, "Hey, you worked with us, nice."
Yeah, and again, it's a really good kind of it just goes to show how far ahead everything else is from just how well orchestrated this plan is.
Yeah, and I like we're doing just enough with the cousins, not to like say, okay, now we've done everything with the cousins. Like we had the mystery of the cousins in Breaking Bad. We at least get, we have like a good baseline, like how awesome the cousins are on like an ordinary basis.
I feel like the cousins have been used perfectly in this show because, of course, in season 3 they show up like briefly, but for one very memorable and horrific moment involving Mike.
Well, see, that's season 2, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. And then I don't quite remember them in season 3. Were they in season 3? I'm sorry.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not they may have had a cameo in 3 off the top of my head. I can't.
It's okay. That's okay. I don't want to dwell on it.
Right. Let's just assume they did. But okay. So also the blood spattered cousins. Love that shot. Like the one that saved the day is blood spattered. The cousins always wear those matching suits, and one of them is blood spattered. Okay. So, Nacho later in the day. You want to take us to this part?
Yeah, sure. Oh my god. All right. So later in the day, this is just where is he, Dragon? Do you know specifically?
Well, he's meeting with Fring here. I think it's it's not the chicken. It can't be the chicken. It's like a warehouse somewhere. It's like, I don't know, it might be like the rail yard. I don't know where, but it's like almost around like a deserted location where he's meeting with Fring.
So essentially Nacho's kind of calling Fring out in this scene a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And as we know, that's not really a thing that you want to do, and it's all gonna kind of come back to the talk of it all.
And I think this is what gives Gus the idea. I think this motivates Gus for later on. I think this basically gets Gus thinking of like, okay, I got to have a word with somebody now.
Uh-huh.
So basically, not just giving some exposition, like basically giving Fring an update of like, okay, I took out the Espinosas, and the brothers are hit, and they're basically, and again, this might write them out for the season for all we know. You never know. Again, time passage, we don't know. They're heading back south until the heat dies down, which seems to be a regular thing because that's why they were coming back in the beginning of Breaking Bad.
Right, but to me, Dragon, that almost kind of signifies like I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see them again in this show.
This was a big shootout, so you never know.
To me, it's like, how do you top this?
That's fair. I mean, because you remember roughly that's five. Okay, so this is it's 5 years later. So yeah, I mean that's basically. Do you think they have to lie low for 5 years?
Well,
Well, I'm sorry. Maybe. Well, I'm sorry. I'm hung up. It might be between 4 and 5 years. That's roughly what it is.
Yeah, and we don't necessarily, I don't know.
It's not important, but your point's still valid. Though. Again, it was a big shootout, so you never know. It might be. I don't know. So let's see. So he calls Fring on the territory angle that basically, and this is really clever actually on the rewatch, especially that the cartel has with the Salamancas having gone south, having lying low. There are no more Salamancas with the exception of Nacho representing the Salamancas.
Oh God.
To take the territory, therefore automatically it goes to Fring. That's a really well laid out plan, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it says get some rest. I love Gus saying get some rest because he sees that Nacho is in bad shape and he needs not. Again, that's kind of I want to extend your suffering, so get some rest. That's kind of what he's saying here.
And Dragon, this is just kind of like, oh my God, like Nacho is living in hell right now. This is hell. And Dragon, like I said, the Gus Fring stuff with Nacho is just so harrowing this season. It really is. It's just like it really is kind of just showing you like the depths in which Gus is willing to go. And Gus just does not give a crap about the humanistic qualities of Nacho. He is his little plaything, and
Imagine this is the most terrifying scene in this season, Tiki. Imagine this: Gus Fring, all smiles and everything, is getting his car upholstered at at Mr. Varga's upholstery place.
Oh God!
And he's all smiles and everything, the classic Gus Fring manner. And you see him put the pressure on Nacho, and Nacho's like crapping his pants, terrified.
Yeah,
and like Victor's there too. We're like, oh God. So anyway, okay, so let's see. After that, we big
group
scene.
Therapy time, Dragon. This is gonna go well.
Group therapy sessions.
Because that always leads to happy feelings, right?
Yeah. Betcha. So we're basically we should go to the image, by the way. We're at the big group scene that we've been hyping up. So again, also I love how we track day and night in the show, by the way, because now it was night scene with Nacho. Now here's the same night. This is what's going on with Mike.
Sure.
Basically, the group therapy sessions going on at the support group for the people who have lost loved ones. Henry, our guy here, I love this. I was so pleasantly surprised by who they got for this. So we have Henry enters late. Now Henry is played by Mark Evan Jackson. Mark Evan Jackson, he's one of those actors you're going to recognize if you see him. He's in The Good Place in a really good role. He's the boss in The Good Place. He's the husband. He's Captain Holt's husband in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I love him. He's great. He's the monotone husband. He's fantastic. He's great, and he's in a lot of ads too. So you might recognize this guy if you see him. Good actor, is what I want to say. I was like, hey, they got him in this. So Stacy, as this guy stumbles in late, Stacy then speaks about him. You want to take us through this?
Yeah, sure. Today I got up and took a shower. Kaylee woke herself up. Got herself ready for school. It was just a regular morning. I made French toast for breakfast, and we talked about the self-pasting toothbrush that she's making for her science fair project.
I love that, by the way. I love that science project.
Self-pasting toothbrush, yes.
You see, kids, don't cheap out with the volcano. Kaylee Ehrmantraut knows how to do it. The volcano's a cliche.
I sound like such a moron here, but I'm saying, is there any application for? It's like it's lazy man something. We don't need self-pasting, a self-pasting toothbrush. This sounds cool, you know. It's like we kind of need that. Like, wouldn't that just be fun to have? It's like the lazy man school to be fun. Okay, anyway, keep going.
Okay. So I took her to school and I went to work. And then I realized it. I don't know why I realized it just then, but I hadn't thought about Maddie all morning. And Dragon, importantly, as soon as Maddie's name gets brought up, Jonathan Banks's face just goes dead.
I heard what Jonathan Banks did.
Mackerel eyes, man.
I heard what Banks did during this scene. I love the acting choice that he made. I'm going to get into it in a minute here. So basically, she didn't think about Maddie. Okay, let me break it down like a smidge here. So basically, she didn't think about Maddie for hours this morning. Now, the way Banks played this, and he mentioned this is like one of the like little inside the episode thing. Mike heard that she didn't think about Maddie for hours, and he immediately felt the guilt of I took her husband away. I killed my son. That's what I got my son killed. That's essentially that line, because he didn't hear the follow-up of that, and the follow-up line to I didn't think about him for hours, and what he didn't hear, because he basically, the moment that happens, that's when the flashback starts.
Sure.
So the minute that happens, Mike misses the part where she says she's worried about this, but again, he's fixated on what she's starting to forget her husband because of me.
Oh man,
that's a brilliant choice, right?
It really is, yeah.
So then it gets okay. So Mike's like right now he's feeling guilty, he's feeling bad about himself. So then, as that's happening, then Henry he kind of jumps in at the worst time.
Oh boy,
Henry tries.
You don't know the freaking like cat trap that you've laid yourself into right now, buddy.
Here's the thing, Henry's kind of stealing. How do you feel about Henry? I mean, Henry's kind of stealing the spotlight from these guys when he does stuff like this. And I feel that's kind of a scummy thing to do.
I feel like it's kind of a little bit of a social faux pas. Like I haven't been in like grief support groups before, but I've been in like anxiety support groups, and yeah, you certainly don't want to talk over each other. You know, it's just kind of common communication skills.
I mean, obviously
speaking of common communication skills, Dragon.
Yeah.
Chewbacca. I'm not saying that every time.
That just kind of came out of nowhere there, didn't it?
Yep. You know, because it's not like everyone and their mother knows how nicknames work. It's not like we just need to spoon feed fan service to the fans like they're babies.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk up some Emmy moments here, and you're just bringing up like some solo back.
Chewbacca. All right.
Do you mind?
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, what was I mean, here's the thing. Like, she was obviously going somewhere with that, and then Henry there's just like he's basically like stealing. Again, he's not like interrupting her, but he's stealing her thunder. It's like, hey, before you finish that thought. Henry basically shares a story, telling everybody that he and his wife were going to go to Sydney. Like a coworker was going to Australia, and he was going to go to Sydney with her. And then the mic just says, "Oh, come on." And it begins. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's this is the first time, from what we can tell, this is the first two things we got to note here. One, I did a little timeline research on this. From what I can tell, Maddie died a year before Better Call Saul. So you got to remember, the wounds are still fresh on all this. Maddie died just 2 years. At the point we're in the series now, roughly 2003, Maddie just died 2 years ago. So the wounds are really fresh here. A year and a half at most, And again, this is the first time Mike speaks about this in the group therapy. At least that's the impact I got. Hence the big phrase "talk." So, Maddie, I'm sorry, Tiki, you there? All right. Anyway, let me go through it here. So, this is the first time Mike talks in a meeting, which is a huge monumental thing. The first time he's getting something off his chest like this. Mike doesn't want to hear this guy's sob story because one, it's coming so shortly after again the very sensitive subject of the death of his son. This guy's stealing her thunder, but then he's just like, I know exactly what this guy's going on. That he just proved himself in that scene where he's going on about the story. So it's Mike proving himself before he's just going off of like what he believes here. Like this is the proof in the pudding here that he has changed the story yet again. You know, he's won the $10 bet, the whole shebang. So he doesn't want to hear it. He calls Henry out. He's on how just the gist of it here, folks. He's calling Henry out on how he's taking advantage of a room of vulnerable people. Basically, like he's stealing. He's the star in the room of like my story's the saddest, or like I'm stealing all the. I'm getting sympathy from people who are already feeling sympathetic towards each other. And basically, Mike calls him out. This man's been selling you a bill of goods, and they're all horrified. Like, Mike, let's not do this. Like, Pop, you just say like, hey, don't do this. Mike's had it. So again, Mike has been really incensed by this group meeting here. So you've been sold a bill of goods. Let's see. He initially Henry, he's denying this, and Mike says, "Okay, if I go to the library, if I go to the public library and look at all the newspapers from 1997, I'll find Judy DeVore. I'll find her obituary in one of those papers. Is that right? What about me?" And your Ben points out your story keeps changing. Last week it was Cuba, then it was Australia. Then make up your mind. So you essentially make up your mind. So following that, it then we see that Mike just wants an admission here. Just say it. Come on, say it. Admit it. And you admit that you have no shame. Might as well admit it because you have not. What else do you have to lose here? And Henry leaves again. I still think I'm on Mike's side based on the evidence. I think Mike's right that he's off his wagon here. He doesn't. He's taking advantage of people in a way. I mean, it might be for a more sensitive reason, but the point is he's kind of stealing thunder from people. He shouldn't be there at the meetings. I guess what I'm saying. But let me see. So Mike then kind of chastises the group. So this keeps going in a big way here, which is, you knew you wouldn't notice, and you didn't. And basically, he basically calls out the group here. You're feeding off of each other's misery. And then we have the big link up. The idea is this is the big link up from the beginning of the episode here. So all this has been going through the early flashback to Maddie, the guilt that he has is playing in his head right before the moment here. So again, it's a huge reveal that, if not a first and a rarity in the ABQ-Verse, that we show a clip in the middle of the episode. Usually we do the ending of an episode where we kind of pull something and we hint at the very beginning of the episode. No, we pulled something that's in the towards the middle, if not kind of the act ender of the middle or something. It's something that's kind of coming more towards the middle. Okay, we're seeing something directly kind of from there. So, Mike. Essentially here, again, what he's saying is Mike Gadamer, he's probably been miserable going to this group. It's hey, he's probably been feeling this way from a long time. It's quite a depressing set, as Jonathan Menks has pointed out, which I got to agree with. It is a depressing set. Why would Mike subject himself to to depression on a regular basis, aside from, for Stacy's well-being? This is the thing that's torturing Mike, and he's just kind of voicing it, this is basically sitting around in a circle, feeling sorry for yourselves, feeding off of each other's misery. It's not healthy. I don't want any part of this. Essentially, is what he says. You wanted me to talk. I talked. That's why Mike hasn't been speaking at the group therapy. It's because he thinks it's BS and he doesn't like it. So, let's see. Moving on from there.
Oh, thank God! Thank God.
Yep. Okay, we're okay.
Oh my God, dude! I was. Oh, Jesus Christ!
We're all good, folks. Okay.
My heart was in my stomach. I was like, please don't go off air. Please don't go off air. Please don't go off air. Okay.
Let's just get your side of the scene, though, Tiki. What do you think about the big Mike, the big link-up scene?
Honestly, I was really blown away by it, just the emotional power of it, and the fake out, we all thought it was oh, Mike told a really emotional story. It's so emotional, we're almost overwhelmed by it, and it's nope, it's Mike Ehrmantraut burning bridges here, folks. It's a completely different side of Mike Ehrmantraut. All right. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Hold on, Dragon. I'm kind of working on getting the images back up.
Sure. So let me touch on the big thing I've been kind of hyping up this whole episode here. One of my favorite things of my favorite idea with the episode in total, and it really hits you on the rewatch too, folks, and I think it's great. The theme of the episode is we have all of these people who are tired of of kind of these depressing ruts that they're in. They're looking for a change. They're looking into making a change. And we have that with Mike, with Kim, and with Jimmy. Kim with the whole courtroom scene that we had earlier.
I mean, Nacho is technically in the worst rut of them all.
That's the thing. Remember, we're going to get the Nacho. Nacho's in a rut that he cannot get himself out of, but the other three characters are making a change, though.
Mhm.
You know, Mike is in a position where he's, again, basically what I was kind of getting at, too, is that, you know, Mike... he just goes to the group therapy for Stacy's benefit, but he hates the thing. He doesn't believe in it because it's a real depressing place to be reminded of like the death of his son over and over again. Like, okay, I need to be reminded of this. And it's like, why would he stick in this depressing rut? And that motivates him for where he goes by the end of the episode. He's making a change. It's gonna endanger his relationship with Stacey Ermintrout, which I think one of your theories is going to come true this season, by the way, because of this.
The whole fallout with Stacy.
Yeah, which again was something that there's not a lot of evidence of that in Breaking Bad. There's only that one scene with her, but again, you can kind of read it in that scene though. The way we start Better Call Saul, I mean, it's kind of there's the chance of it, and I think you're going to be right about that based on this episode. That's what I'm going to call that.
All right,
what you set up there. But yeah, I mean, so as we're going to see with Jimmy again, he's going to be making a change from a very boring kind of rut that he's in. So I love all these like kind of these thematic people getting out of their. Getting out of the ruts that they found themselves in. So I love that of the episode. So speaking of Nacho, let's talk about the Mr. Vargas scene.
Oh boy. So, okay, folks, I'm going to make a Disney reference and a Pixar reference. All right, you ready, Dragon? So first of all, get your inside out tissues ready for this scene, folks, because Mr. Varga is not so
proud of his boy.
He's not so proud of his boy.
One could say disappointed.
God. All right. If you don't know, folks, "Proud of Your Boy" is a deleted song from Aladdin, written when Aladdin's mother was still in the movie. And if you have the, I believe it's the platinum edition of the Aladdin DVD, Clay Aiken sings a very powerful rendition of "Proud of Your Boy."
Essentially.
Oh boy. And the fact that I know that Clay Aiken specifically sang it on the DVD just shows how sad my life really is, Dragon.
I don't know if it's sad, it's just oriented, but okay. So Mr. Varga, he finds Nacho, he comes home, he says, and I love this, he sees the silhouette of his son, that says, "Get out, I don't want you here." Again, "I'm not proud of my boy."
God, now we're just writing the Better Call Saul stage musical.
I mean, yeah, Merrifield, I'm sorry, we have to have some levity here because this is a really sad scene.
It really is. It really is.
So Mr. Varga, like, he turns the light on, and he sees the minute he turns the light on, like, oh man, this is gonna be a great scene where he finds Nacho wounded again. Like his wounds have either opened up or like the point is like he's beaten. You can see like the blood-stained shirt and everything. So his son is beaten, tired, and he sees Nacho wounded. And he's like, "What if they, Mijo? What have they done to you?" Like, oh my God, yeah, it's so sad. And basically, then Michael Mandow gives one of his best performances this season. The way he says to his father, like a little boy asking his father something here. He says, like, "No, Papa, don't call 911. I won't be safe if you do that." Like, oh my God. And basically just all he asks is that his father let him stay the night because he's just so beaten, tired, and he's just not just so tortured this season. And again, Nacho, as I said, Nacho wants to make a change, but he can't. He's in literally a rock and a hard place. He's so beaten by it. He's going like Nacho's experience is 127 hours. I'm sure something bad's going to happen. Like his father might be in the army, folks. So you never know.
Of course, I kind of laid out the whole theory of like, what if Nacho's father gets inadvertently killed through Nacho's action of swapping the pills, which was made to protect his father.
I think that's going to be Shakespearean. A part of me, again, I don't want Mr. Varga to get killed, but I think dramatically, I want that to happen, though.
Oh, God.
So again, I love the protective fatherly instinct in this scene, though, where it's just you see the heartbreaking. Oh, I'm so worried about my son. Why is our relationship so broken? Why am I not proud of my boy? So, cutting back from that, we have Mike.
Yeah.
Mike.
I don't have the We Heart Mike thing. Just go with it.
All right. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so we have for most of the important scenes. So.
Yeah. Okay, to be fair, this is kind of like more of a Mike cool down than anything else.
Sure. So, well, it's definitely cool.
Yes, yes.
The refrigerated truck. So Mike is checking in on the magical trucks. And
He's
again,
basically
he's
doing what he said he was going to do.
through. He's ducking Stacy's calls. Again, kind of like Jimmy's kind of ducking things, and Mike's also ducking things.
Mhm.
So very again through a phone, even more thematic. By the way, folks, just in case you're curious of all the Better Call Saul phone numbers that have been set up, no, you cannot call Stacy Trout because that phone number you see is just a dead number, at least at this point, folks. I'll keep you appraised on it, but so far, nothing. Anyway, so he's ducking Stacy's calls. He's probably calling to kind of talk about what the heck went on last night, man.
Yeah.
So he's checking the refrigerated trucks, which of course is a great little nod to Mike rode in the back of one of those refrigerated trucks in Breaking Bad, in a really cool moment where he got half of his ear blown off.
Mhm.
Top of his ear blown off. Anyway, so
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was definitely like kind of thinking about the parallels between that scene and this episode for sure.
So Mike, he's he's not a happy camper here, saying like basically he's kind of critiquing the guy in the truck here. These trucks are supposed to be ready to go, and he's like, okay, wait a minute, what does that say?
What's the temperature on that thermometer? It's not a guessing game.
I love that line. It's not a guessing game. So 38 it says 38 degrees, but it's supposed to be 35 degrees. And I love the visual exploration of the scene, like Mike with this little flashlight going through the truck. I just love it. So basically, I get a love visually. You see it before Mike has to spell it out. It's like why it kind of communicates. Okay, why didn't you see this? That's kind of what it communicates in an action. Like, do not stack the boxes. Well, I mean, it's like we know around here you're supposed to say, okay, I'll get right on it. And of course, like the frayed straps, like we should get some new straps in here. And I feel. I read my read on this scene because I think Mike's attention to detail is welcome in this space, and it's kind of what it's frowned upon at the group. Where again, Mike's not factoring the emotions, like letting Henry down gently. But here, his attention to detail is welcome in this workplace where he does this, and that's his job to notice all these things. So it's kind of he's channeling all of that here.
Basically, what you're saying is that Mike's discovering that the underworld part of his life is more in line with his set of skills than the family side of his life, as much as he craves the family side of his life.
Essentially.
All right.
Mike gets call over the PA. It's not Stacy calling, but it's his old pal Victor.
Dragon, by the way, I can't wait to see like the father-son dynamic develop with Victor, and we know that's going to go down.
True. Well, if not father-son, we know he's going to be like his most trusted, like Mike's right-hand guy, supposed to be Victor. That's gonna be interesting,
especially with the father-son parallels that have been kind of like lingering over Mike's entire story arc with this show.
I've always said, and I still stick by this to a point. I think Wormel might be replaced in this analogy, but I always viewed it as Fring has kind of his adoptive sons of crime, like Vito Corleone has, with
kind of like the twisted version of Dooley's boys.
Well, no, more literal. It's more of a literal Godfather parallel, but
all right.
Because we have basically Saul Goodman's the one who came up with the whole Godfather comparison for Breaking Bad. So Wormel's Price is Fredo. Price is Fredo. Jesse is Michael Corleone. Sonny is I think Sonny's Victor. Sonny's Victor. That's about it.
Okay.
All right, so Mike gets called, basically wants a meeting tonight with Fring. Says,
tonight.
He says, no, we're not done yet. As he walks off. So we check back in with Jimmy. Jimmy goes on break. Back in a jiff, like little signs. Back in a jiff.
We were on a break. I'm so sorry.
So he meets up with his old pal Ira, and we like
Dragon.
Ira.
This is like Casablanca vibes right here, man. Like beginning of a beautiful friendship type vibes here, and I'm loving it.
You know what it reminds me of, and I love this? It reminds me of the Jim Beaver, Lawson the gun guy and Mike's dynamic from season 3.
Well,
season 2, and this is kind of Jimmy's version of that, and also it's with a bearded man, kind of with a bearded redhead guy.
Sure.
Not ironic. So he meets up with Ira, and Ira has a vending machine job, which is kind of nice. And it was kind of, Jimmy likes the guy. Yeah, Jimmy has like a weird kinship with guys in like real kind of menial jobs, like the standpipe construction guys and and vending machine guys. I don't know. So as he's loading a soda machine, they basically gets his half of the Hummel payday, which was more than Jimmy expected.
Yeah. There was a bidding war for it at the Collectors Expo.
And Iris says, "Hey, you have any more of this? Because I like this. It was clean, easy money. Not a lot of work." And
I like how Jimmy's basically like, "You could have just kept your half for yourself," and Iris like, "Yeah, well, you could have left me high and dry."
Which was nice.
So it's like I love this like criminal code that we're building with Jimmy right here, Dragon.
Honor code just would have my notes right there. Like, yep, I agree. So okay, we have some important foreshadow here where it says, "Hey, do you have any more Hummel jobs?" Jimmy says, "No, not really." Of course, this might be so because we know of a very famed location in Better Call Saul where there are a lot of Hummels. Basically, it's the Fort Knox of Hummels. Be really be very impactful going forward. Who knows? So Jimmy says, "Hey, I'm going to find more work though. We're going to work together real soon." So Ira's in like, "Yeah, just call the vet, set up through the vet."
And this is what I was talking about with the whole my first foreshadowing of it all. It's like, okay, we know where this is leading. Anyone who it's like 2 + 2 = 4 foreshadowing.
So here's the thing though, I'm a little, again, I probably shouldn't be proud as I am. I was like, I knew they were going this way the minute Jimmy got the job at the phone store. Like the minute they got the call from CC Mobile and he took the job, I was like, okay, I know exactly what this is setting up. I knew from that point forward exactly what they were setting up the phones. Okay, well, remember, every new job you get a new phone. That's how it works. Basically, he introduces Jimmy to the idea of the burner phone, which again, Saul Goodman famously, as we saw in the opening of the episode, has a drawer full of burner phones, which he's had through the course of Breaking Bad in his big Coca Bolo desk. So basically, we have a big foreshadowy inkling of where Saul Goodman got all his phones from, the CC Mobile store.
Yeah, so we have a big montage of basically kind of like an idea being implanted into Saul's brain. I said Saul, and I didn't even mean to, because that's how impactful the scene is, Dragon. It's like, we really do see kind of like the transition. This is Jimmy's first calling card into the criminal underworld, Dragon. That's really how I see it, and it's a big moment.
So, Jimmy, and this is a fun little production note, in the Better Call Saul color schemes, like the way the red and yellow, the way the logo is, he basically paints on the outside of the CC Mobile store, the deserted CC Mobile store, is the man listening, privacy sold here.
Oh yeah.
So I think most likely what this is Jimmy selling burner phones to criminals, which of course will lead to the various contacts that Saul Goodman has access to. Basically, the guys who know guys. Like I know a guy who knows a guy. That whole thing with Saul Goodman. All right, so big scene. Okay, so again, we have a lot of talking in this episode. Again, that's the thing. It's a really talk-heavy episode in a good way, and that's very reflective of the title. And we have the big talk at the end as well. Mike's so chatty, and traditionally he's not a chatty guy. Big Fring and Mike scene. It's been a while since these two crazy kids have gotten back together.
Yeah, they haven't had any scenes in season 4 so far, right? Any direct contact with each other?
No direct contact, no.
All right, so good. I love the setting here. I love all the Los Polos Hermanos trucks. Very
I believe
classic
this is on the
Breaking Bad iconography.
I wonder if this is on the other side of Magical, because again, we saw those trucks being loaded in that area. I wonder if it's the same location, just from the outside. I wonder.
Just one taste, and you'll know.
So, he confronts Mike. So Gus is confronting Mike on, this is a great scene here. He confronts Mike on how he knew that Nacho was moving against Salamanca all through season 3. And I love
you
that
told
Mike,
me not to kill Salamanca. You never told me to be his personal bodyguard.
which is great. And I love the fact that Mike knew this was coming. Like, yeah, it's a matter of time before you found out, I guess. And
then Gus, of course, is just like, if you have something to tell me, it would be strongly advised that you do so.
But then after that, it gets real. Things start. We have this beautiful boat here. The only guy in the history of Breaking Bad who can get away with this.
Oh yeah.
is Mike, because no other, not Walter White, no other character can get away with what's about to happen here. Because Fring, he's starting to puff out his chest a little here, where he's saying like, says, "I do you a favor," and he's basically like kind of listing off some stuff here, like you don't tell me this, and then Mike's just accepting this, and he's just like, I'm not his bodyguard. So what now? Gonna make a move? You better make it. Of course, telling Victor and Tyrus off to the side here is kind of tough talking him here, and he says, "Yeah." Sorry, as he basically walks up to Fring here, his men or Gus. Oh, I love this bit, but Gus basically moves for his men to stand out. Like he takes a step, like you're not gonna do anything because you haven't asked. And he moves closer and closer to him. And he's like, okay, lower your guns. As he gets right in Gus's face, he says, "Why don't you stop running the game on me and tell me about the job?"
And of course, and Dragon, here's one of the things that I love about season 4 is that it feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, but each episode has ended on like a very strong and powerful piece of dialogue or like a moment of silence or something to that extent. You know what I mean?
Let me think. Okay, episode 1, obviously. 2, yes. Wait, I know 3. I'm trying to think about 2 right now. I have 2. 2 ended with the I think, well, at the very least, more often than not, they have ended that way. Exactly. I don't know. I'm blanking on 2 at the moment, but yeah. Oh wait, no, yeah. Well, 2 ended on silence because of the breath thing. That was like when he killed Arturo. So yeah, in a way, it does end with a silence. Ends with a silence and a conversation. So yes, I think you're right on the mark. So yeah, that's the. So my read on this is Mike, in doing this, basically kind of staying at the front lights and asking to be in on it, and basically asking for the job here. Mike risks severing his ties with Stacy in a big way here in favor of doing something that comes naturally for him and makes him feel alive.
Sure.
I mean, again, what we've been exploring with the characters and what we had here is that these characters are kind of bored right now, and they're kind of doing stuff to shake up their lives and not feel bored anymore. Or again, I've raised the argument that Mike took the Fring job. He basically took the whole securities, the physicalized security consultant thing because he was a little bit bored. Very least, he's back in this world full time because he's a little bored and tired of being bummed out. And that's the thing. At the risk of like losing Stacy, I think it's him punishing himself for the role that he had in losing Maddie, and that's just kind of like he'll accept that punishment. I can't do it anymore. I can't be reminded of it, and I can't make her life harder.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so I guess let's get into the promo.
Oh man, oh god, so many exciting things coming up in the promo, Dragon. Of course, let's not bury the lead here. We're finally getting the Fabian and the Fabian bathroom scene, Dragon. We're finally getting it.
I gotta tell you, this thing. I'm no joke. I'm most excited for this season. This scene.
I don't blame you.
It's in the same courthouse because Jimmy's getting scanned as he goes through the courthouse, and you have Hamlin in that bathroom. And again, and we get more than what we had that one shot in that one cryptic trailer here, where it's like Howard has this great line. You can see that he's shaken. He's so off his game. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. Oh my god! I gotta see we've never seen Hamlin like this.
Yep.
Oh my god! He's so off his game.
And of course, Hamlin's been sitting out for the past 2 episodes, so God knows what he's been up to.
Yeah, remember Hamlin had his butt handed to him by Kim.
He really did. What can I do to help? Nothing. There's nothing you can do. That's just Howard's worst nightmare right there. That's an existential crisis for Howard Hamlin. There's nothing I can do to help.
So we see Jimmy in the tracksuit. We're getting that next episode. Kim has a problem with Mesa Verde. I believe Paige. It looks identical to Paige, so it has to be Paige on the other side telling Kim, "Okay, there's a problem. Like a mistake was made. We have a problem here." Most likely mistakes. Basically, we have a problem, Kim. Jimmy has an office job, it would seem. So another new job.
Oh,
God.
Well,
he's in an office. I don't know if he's been moved to a different store or what. He's in an office.
Yeah.
And also, we have this, and we also simultaneously, we have that and Jimmy doing his street dealings, most likely with the phones.
Sure.
So now, Tiki, we have a boatload of spec here. We have 6 episode titles.
I mean, let's keep it brief, man.
That's what I'm saying. Let's just keep it brief. Like, off the top of your head, like, what do you got with just hearing the title? So, quite a ride.
Quite a ride. Well, we were kind of speculating earlier that it might be the Jimmy Kim breakup episode, but I feel like that might be a little too early for that.
I think Cadillac. I think very simple. We got to foreshadow the Cadillac in this one. We have to with Quite a Ride. I think we're going to get the end of things. I think it's just Quite a Ride sounds like the end of things. Like Howard Hamlin's going to be at the end of his rope. Like, oh, it's been quite a ride, and Kim Lux is going to be a similar boat possibly. Pinata, episode 6, which I'm very excited for. We'll get into that at episode 5. Well, at least we'll get to it when we get to it. But Pinata, what do you think?
Perhaps maybe a Nacho flashback episode, a big Nacho episode.
I had the same exact thought. I think it's going to be about punishment and the Nacho flashback. I think that's what this 6 is going to be about. 7, something stupid.
That might be the breakup episode.
That's true. Again, if that to me sounds like it has to be, because that's again like it's the inverse of something beautiful. I think something's either that, if not the breakup. I think it's going to be Jimmy's going to do a con, and the con's going to have great consequences. The con went off without a hitch. Well, the con went off well in episode 3. Let's do something beautiful together. I think something's going to go wrong in a big way, and I think the con's going to go wrong or something. I think Jimmy's going to something bad's going to happen. Okay, episode 8. Koshata. Now, Koshata is a native.
I got nothing.
Now, I can explain. The Koshata is it's synonymous with Native American culture, and there are casinos named Koshata, so it might be a casino thing. At the very least, Native American will be kind of the theme. Will be an element of the episode.
Yeah, again, I got nothing to
speculate. I know that's fair. 9. Wider Shannon, which is I think it's magical because the German side of magical. I think it's just the simple thing. It was a German word there.
Probably a big Mike episode.
Yes, that's my guess about that. And last one, most important one, they're really hyping this one up. Winner.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be, for all intents and purposes, Saul Goodman becoming Saul Goodman at the expense of Jimmy McGill.
Exactly. Saul Goodman is created, or at least beginning of flourishing, and Jimmy McGill will lose everything. I think that has to be the parallel. That episode, Jimmy is that's got to be the end. That's going to be the most depressing yet simultaneously interesting. That's going to be the better. That fingers crossed. That's going to be the Bates Motel season 4 ending of Better Call Saul. Fingers crossed. In general, anything you got? Any briefly things you got from with speculation generally?
Yeah, I have some general spec. I have, what do you think of the idea that by the end of the season, Jimmy is going to replace the vet?
That'd be interesting. I don't quite see it, though. I won't, because I want to keep the vet
I think it makes sense just because he's going to be the guy who knows the guy who knows the guy.
Well, no,
we already saw him, I'm not saying he's going to, get a veterinarian's degree or anything. I'm just saying he's going to be the guy who knows a guy.
Well, I mean, that's fair. I mean, the way you phrased it, I thought you meant that other thing. I thought you meant that it was like, it's going to replace the vet? No.
No. I'm saying replace the vet in terms of connecting criminals to each other.
I think he's going to be able to do that on his own, but I don't want to get rid of the vet because I still want the vet to be around for Mike. But yeah, I think you're on my that. I think he'll be able to do it for himself more.
We already kind of speculated about the cousins. I think this might be their last appearance in this show, but you never know, especially when we get into the Breaking Bad timeline. Honestly, that's about it.
I have nothing major, nothing we didn't really touch on. It's basically, I think we're going to be still. I think he's going to be selling the burner phones. I think it's going to be the first step.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Obviously, we know where he's going to get the next tumbles. That's going to be his act of desperation.
Miss Strauss, breaking into Mrs. Strauss's house using Ira, probably. And again, that could be something stupid. That could be that goes wrong, or who knows.
I would be surprised if that plotline wasn't something stupid.
Now remember, episodes 7 and 9 traditionally are the best ones, and episode 7, something stupid. That has to be a big episode.
Sure.
Okay, and this broad spectrum, I think what we're setting up here is that Jimmy and Kim are definitely going on diverging paths with this thing. My theory is that the only thing I really have here is I think Kim, by the end of things, I think she's going to be in Jimmy's season 1 position, a Better Call Saul by the end of the season. I think she's going to be in the PD kind of courtroom situation, and Jimmy's going to have the Saul Goodman side of things figured out. It's going to be we're going to leave him at the end of the season.
I like that.
Okay, so final thoughts.
Final thoughts, Dragon. I mean, my God, I really do think this is going to be an underrated gem of an episode that people are kind of sleeping on right now. I really do. I mean, I'm surprised more people aren't hyping this one up. I really am. One of the best cold opens we've ever gotten in the ABQ verse, just straight up. One of the best action scenes we've ever gotten in the ABQ verse. One of the best payoffs to a cold open we've ever gotten in the ABQ verse. Dragon, seriously, this is firing on all cylinders for me. It really is. And even the smaller storylines like the Jimmy and Kim stuff have some real resonance to them. So yeah, I really love this episode. For me, it's by far my favorite of season 4 so far. They just keep getting better.
All right, for me, very simply, it's I feel it's the great beginning of a shift in everybody's arc this season. I feel it's the begin again. It's putting things in motion in a really great way. Mike, of course, was a standout. I think everything's just coming along so nicely in this his progress in his purest, most distilled sense. So I'm very high on this episode, and I feel again like I think this wasn't a mistake in season 2. It wasn't a problem. It's just something to notice is that like episode 8 of season 2 ended on like I'm not sure if they're gonna be if they don't pull this together, then this episode's gonna be flawed with an ending. And of course, episode 9 delivered in spades as we just expect it to now. And I think it's just because of that. Like these episodes, again, they're setting things into motion. There's absolutely no room for this is going to pay off, and even if it didn't pay off, it's still a great character piece. Like everything just clicks so well. So that said, remember, kids, when you get that phone call, make it count. Better Call Saul. Saul Goodman and Associates is the one-stop shop for all your legal needs.
And with that, we are adjourned.
We could totally be lawyers.
Totally.
Totally.
You wanted me to talk? I talk.